Playing Possum Podcast.
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 Hey, I'm Casey. I am a photographer, illustrator, multimedia artist out of the Portland area. And when I'm not around other people, I tend to not wear pants and I sing to my cat.
Verified. Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm an artist living and working in Mississippi, not kissing my cousins. Thank you.
Verified. I am Catherine. I am a woodworker and educator living in Corvallis, Oregon with my wife and my spotted dog. And I like to wear Western wear.
Verified.
And this is the Playing Possum Podcast.
Don't sleep on it,
And we are incapable of saying it at the same time.
Yeah, it's like we never heard of a countdown. Verified.
The goal of Playing Possums is essentially to help other creatives be creative when you feel like playing dead. Something that we all struggle with in our own creative efforts. And Catherine, this was sort of your brainchild. You want to explain further?
So I was in this period of my life where I was just kind of inward, taking some time off, and I have this like deck, kind of like a tarot card deck of animal cards, and I kept pulling this possum card, and it kept talking about the possum is known for playing dead and can kind of hide from the world. And it had so much meaning for me when I was in this time in my life of and it talked about how oftentimes possum people are creative people and they have a hard time sharing their, art with the world. And I was just like, yeah, this is me. And so you and I, Jamie, had some conversations around it of the possum energy of just that idea of how making art and being creative can be so vulnerable, and then to actually show it, once you finish the work, to show it to the world, you would rather just sort of play dead like a possum and not do that. And that has been, a big struggle for me in my own work. And so we kind of talked about collaborating on something, and I just kept drawing this sort of dead possum. It was playing dead. It wasn't actually dead, just kind of resting. And then Casey, you and I worked together and have collaborated on stuff. And so we started talking about it, and it just kind of the stars aligned, and we sort of decided that this would be a really fun way to sort of collaborate and have a space to talk about creativity and the struggles of creativity, and what it's like to get on the other side of that feeling. Like I always say, I know I'm on the right track with the project if I hate my project and I'm laying on the ground and I'm like, I don't want anyone to see this. If I can get to the other side of that, then it's like, I usually can finish it and I feel really proud of it. But it's there's this period of time where I need to play dead in my creative process and really embrace that. So, that's the idea, is just to have a space to talk about that and for other people to understand that that is a total normal part of the process, or at least it is for me, and y'all seem to feel the same way.
So we aim to sort of share some of our struggles and whatnot, and also bring other creatives on, so you don't get sick of just the three of us, but to also discuss their creative blocks as well, and the sort of methods they use to get around themselves. So did anybody play possum this week?
I'm in a little bit of decision paralysis at the moment, so I'm having a hard time picking up on something new to work on at the moment, since the future feels uncertain.
But you've been busy.
But
You've done
yeah, I did just finish a zine, so that was pretty cool. But I've been kind of playing Possum for the last week or so since then.
subscribers. Be on the lookout for the Playing Possum zine, created by Casey Montgomery, to be released soon.
Yeah, I think we can have them pick some up at the Southtown Art Walk that Catherine's going to be showing off her new sundries at.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I have wanted to play Possum this week, but I am doing a art walk in my neighborhood, which is pretty low key. It's been I think it's in their 10th year maybe, but it's been organized by a group of local artists. I've only participated in it one other year. And the idea is like local artists in the neighborhood open their studios for people to basically see their work, and so you have to not play possum and get your stuff out there, and that's always a big struggle for me. But so I've been working on some bolo ties. For those of you watching the video, I am wearing one. So I'm making sort of some gaudy bolo ties out of old brooches is kind of where I'm starting. And hopefully down the road I'll have some more woodworking type designs, but I have a strong need to have like a lot of gold and sparkly things around my neck right now. And I thought maybe someone else would. So yeah, I've made those, and then Marcia and I have been collaborating on making some belt buckles, and I'll have some sort of more traditional woodworking objects as well. But I am really excited about the Western wear that I'm working on. So I did take some photos of me in Western wear, and I'm going to put them on Instagram, and I feel like playing possum, and I really don't want to put them on there, but
No, the photo shoot was awesome. You look fantastic.
It was so good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's a struggle of like, it's funny because it's like when I started this, a lot of times I am a very visual thinker, and a lot of times when I start a project, I actually see the product photo before I even start the project, if that makes sense. And so like it is like the product photo is kind of like, I'm like, oh, that is what I wanted it to look like, and like that excitement, but then like this other voice comes in and it's like, your ideas are bad and you should not show that to anyone, you know? And so it's like fighting that. I feel like I'm at that point where it's like, I need to lay on the floor for a little bit and just feel like my ideas are bad, and then I'll get over myself. But yeah. Yeah. How about you, Jamie? Have you been playing possum, or have you been working on stuff?
I'm currently going through roofing experience, getting a new roof here on the house and the studio as well. And these roofers have been very punctual, showing up a little before 7:30 every morning, weekends too. So I have not been able to be in my studio for, it's been more than a week. I think we're at roofing day 13. So
Oh,
so yeah, as far as what's been going on lately, yeah, everything's been greatly slowed. I have no access to my creative space. So yeah, I had some goals to get one or two things out before the end of the year, and it will be a race to the finish. So we'll see. That roof is supposed to be on by Tuesday, so God willing, no more hammers, no more
Fingers
nails,
crossed.
no more workforce of a dozen, having the best time ever ripping that roof off a valve. So yeah, that which doesn't kill us, right? I lived through something similar last year when the family behind us got a basketball goal. I thought that the sound of the basketball was going to be, I thought I was going to come unglued from basketball. Turns out everything is annoying, not just basketball. Roofing is really annoying also.
oh man, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I know tiny violin. All right, Casey, what about you?
No, sound sensitivity is a real thing. It's like, I think, like Marcia is really sound sensitive. I am not. But she is really sound sensitive, and she had, yeah,
I find it so
she was
distracting.
working. It's
Same.
yeah, it's like your brain can't operate. I think I am trained. Either I am not, or I probably am not, right? Because I work in a environment that's very loud. Like there's machinery all the time, and I wear hearing protection, and I've trained myself to actually be able to like hear machines and people talk while wearing hearing protection. So like I feel like my sound, what I'm sensitive to, is very high. Like I don't have I have a high tolerance for sound, but Marcia had to work in an office where there was a lot of construction, and we actually bought her the same earphones that I wear in the shop just to have less sound. So yeah, it really helped. So
that's what I should do. Let's get some earphones, some noise
maybe I'll
canceling
mail you
headphones.
some.
Yeah.
I go full goblin toad when I am unable to control the noise around me. Like the neighbors downstairs, or someone outside yelling, like a child yelling with joy outside. Oh, I can't even take it.
Keep that joy to yourself. Well, it's it's hard enough to do the work anyway, and then they're just tiny little annoyances, which maybe I'll get up and come back to it in half an hour. I don't know. Maybe I'm just searching for excuses when I don't feel like doing my work, but yeah, the creative spaces.
Oh, sorry. I think there's a little lag on my end. I was just going to ask you if you'd found anything inspiring lately, even with all the construction and chaos going on around you lately.
In planning for next year, yeah, I've been inspired about how I want next year to unfold. I didn't stick to the blueprint that I'd laid out this year, and that tends to happen. I'm usually a little overzealous when I lay out how I want my year to look. But so yeah, we're here at the end of 2024. We'll be in January before we know it. And I'm trying to kind of go ahead and outline everything because I haven't gotten much of anything out this year. I've been consistently working, but I did take steps back from social media. I needed a break. And it's probably one of the worst times to come back to social media, but can't play possum forever. So yeah, be looking for Jamie at Jamie Hudnall at Instagram and Facebook in 2025.
Yeah, I too have rejoined social media because I realized I have no choice.
Is that what you finally came to?
Yeah, it's so brutal. It's just like, yeah, I run 2 small businesses, and I think it's like, it's the only, like, it's how you market, right? So it's just like, okay. So yeah, I am back on social media and trying to figure out how to manage that. Because I mean, Jamie, you and I have had a lot of conversations, and you too, Casey, with the mental health impact for me of being on social media is really hard. I am like very comparative. So like I'll follow another woodworker and they'll make something, and then I will immediately be like, well, my work is worthless because that person is making that, even though I have no desire to make what they're making. And like, but it's like just seeing someone else complete something like makes me feel deep shame. Like, just like, it is crazy. Like, it's like, I'm happy for you, and I now hate you for just being able to finish something and take a picture of it and put it out there, because like that is such a huge struggle for me to be able to do that. And like I often fall short of like finishing projects because of that that feels like such a leap to me, to be like, I'm done with this now, look at it. And so I am attempting to do that, and also understand that if I see someone else's finished product, it does not have any meaning of my own value or worth in the world, like, so yeah, that's my biggest struggle with social media. It's like, yeah, I really struggle with that piece of it. Yeah. So one thing you asked, Casey, was like, what is inspiring you right now? And I think I've had like this kind of really interesting, I don't know if inspiring maybe is the word, but I think it is like enlightening of like understanding my why of why I teach, why it's so important for me to have this community shop. I run a community shop called Highland Woodshop in North Corvallis. Come be a member, join us. But yeah, my why of why I do that is like helping. We have a lot of people who traditionally would not be into woodworking come into our space, and allowing people to take up space in this way that's like this really small piece of like what I can do is like I know how to do woodworking and I can teach other people how to do woodworking, and like that's this one thing. But I think what makes it really powerful for me is that I am teaching people who, because of the dominant culture, have not had access to woodworking education, but really want to. And it's like the idea of like having people come into the woodworking shop, take up space, get that knowledge, be able to then make things on their own is like this very small contribution I can do to the world that then feels like a little bit bigger, because I think we've all sort of felt, the three of us, because we've had this conversation not on the podcast, of like a heaviness of like what's happening outside of our control and like what's happening in the world right now. And I think I'm realizing that like sort of this project of like us being artists, talking about how it's hard to be artists and not feel valued in the world, and like actually taking up space and asking people to listen to that and asking people to hear what we have to say, is like we are taking up space, and doing that in the shop of like helping people take up space is like this very small contribution I can make. And then because I think we are going to live in a world where like there's a lot of people who are going to be like, you're not allowed to take up space in this, whatever it is, X, Y, and Z. And I may not be describing it very eloquently because I feel like I'm still literally like processing what this means, but it's like, it feels really important to me to take up space in spaces that I traditionally should not, right? And so like teaching woodworking as like a tiny, not that I'm tiny, I'm actually huge, I'm 6 feet tall, but like a smaller person teaching woodworking is like, it's like, you know, usually it's like a large bearded man is teaching woodworking, and like,
What did you call me?
A lumberjack. I just shaved, so my beard, I don't have my beard right now. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but I do feel like I want to take up space, and like that's, I think, one of the things that's like I'm so drawn to Western wear right now, because it's like I want to take up space in this like country and Western place where like it's not supposed to be for me, but like Jamie and I, we've known each other our whole lives, and like, hello, we won 6th grade talent show, first place, for doing choreographed line dancing to Friends in Low Places. And like country has been like so deep within me, but I have always felt like, oh, that's not a space for me. But like, what if it doesn't matter and I don't have to wait for somebody's permission, right? And I think that's the same thing of like showing our work, is like I'm waiting for someone else to tell me that my work is good, versus just being like, here's my work, I'm going to take up space, look at it or don't. I'm not waiting for you to tell me or to value it, right? It doesn't matter what you think, because it's what's inside of me and it's the work I need to do. So preach.
Well, that's an important distinction, and that was something. I had those feelings when I first came back to painting. I had a big, almost 7-8 year break from the time that I finished school until I actually started making art again. And when I finally started working again, struggled a lot with putting stuff out there, and all it myself as well. But I'd finally landed in a spot where I decided that you're just going to put it out and you're just going to put your big girl panties on and deal with whatever responses come back. But at the end of the day, what everyone else thinks, they get to decide whether or not they like it. I'm the one that decides whether or not it's good, you know? If what I finish is actually what I set out to make, or or if I learned something along the way, whatever. But yeah, you can't give that power to other people. Got to keep it in.
Definitely.
Got to keep it in the studio. It's between you and your work. So
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I really started having those experiences of like, wow, I love this one. I started shooting film and getting that little gift of all of your scans back after, shooting roll after roll for the month and then taking them down to the store to get them developed. And I pull them up in my email and this is amazing. I can't believe I did this. And it just being so stoked on the result of just for me before, ever seeking validation on it. And, I think it'd be really interesting to try that practice in my other skill sets that I work on, like illustration and multimedia and how that would then affect maybe how I approach it. Because I feel like since getting or just falling in love with film and like just seeing the stuff that I was able to take the time to create, it like lit a fire under me. And so I'm kind of wondering how I could apply that elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I think something you said at some point was like how, Casey, how like you see certain photographs and it's like when you see them, it's like you can kind of tell the emotion. Like it's like you see a person, but then you see a photograph of a person and there's like a different like emotion behind that. And that was really interesting to me. And actually, Marcia and I had that conversation because I was like not demanding, but asking her to take photos of me in my Western wear and bolo. And I was like, we had that conversation, and actually, like after that conversation, the photos turned out exactly how I wanted. And it was like in this way of like, there needs to be a certain type of emotion. And if it's like, and I was like, if I'm worried that you're just doing this because I'm asking you and that you just want to get it over as quick as possible, it's going to be hard for me to relax. And like, she never made me feel that way, but I needed to like talk to her about it and be like, are you really okay doing this? Like, and like knowing that and then being able to relax into it, like totally changed, I think not. And it's like, I think probably I look the same, but right, the photograph had this like totally different tone to it because like the emotion was more relaxed and I was like able to relax into like, okay, everything is okay. And like, I don't know, it's really interesting. And like, I appreciate you saying that because it really helped me in this next step for this project that I'm working on. So yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I could be helpful in some way. I think it is interesting though, because people feel, I think, a lot of people feel self-conscious about how they look in photos or in videos. And yeah, I think that it's just a different way to like render, how someone actually looks or how someone feels about someone else or themselves or a place or a thing.
Yeah, it's like, I think if you're still waiting or seeking that validation externally, right, like it's like you're never probably going to be satisfied with how you look in a photo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Versus like, what does it feel like to you to look at that photo versus like thinking all these external things of like what other people are going to see. Like, I don't know, this is just a hilarious example, but it's like Marcia and I dressed as Sonny and Cher for Halloween one time, and like
Yes.
I was like so feeling myself in this Cher wig. Like I was like just
You're
I
like
could
so
not
good
feel
in that
myself
long straight like
anymore.
it.
Yeah, and like
And you were
my
dancing.
dad
You had the
say
boogies.
that again.
You were dancing. You had the boogies. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was Cher and Marcia was Sunny, and like we took some photos, and my dad was like, "Who is that woman in that photo?" And I think it was just because like my energy was like it was like Cher energy, right? Like I was like just feeling myself, and like I didn't even look like myself because I mean, also it was like kind of maybe borderline drag if I dress up like Cher, but yeah, it was really amazing, and I love those photographs, and just yeah. So yeah, sadly we have not stored the Cher wig in the appropriate way you're supposed to store a wig, and I can't feel myself like I did anymore because it's so tangled.
it's now like a little more of an Annie.
I know.
Dark
Yeah,
little
it's
more of an
disappointing.
It looked permed.
Have you ever considered like taking it out and detangling it and just wearing it to Safeway?
I wish I could. I need some wig tutorials about how to detangle a wig because I don't know.
James Mansfield on YouTube.
Got it.
I've got a closet full of purple clown wig.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, speaking of something to look forward to in the Playing Possums is as we progress down this road, our plan is to have a merch shop with some of our creative endeavors. And it will be called Betty Ann's Crazy Wig Shop, which our dog, Marcia and I's spotted dog, has a wig. Like she has one spot on her head that just goes all the way down her ears, and we call it her wig. So yeah, come to our wig shop. It's not up yet, but the wig shop will be open for shopping, probably in 2025.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm so excited.
In that Playing Possums podcast merch.
Yes.
All of our possum merch.
Will we sell possum musk, like a spray bottle of it?
Just
Ooh,
repackage Giorgio Armani.
ooh, for when you have to hit the ground and play dead. Mhm. Yeah. Who's making art?
Oh
Not
my
me.
God. Speaking of possums, does anybody have like a good, solid possum story they can share with us?
I have one. I had an older possum that kind of looked like Master Splinter from Ninja Turtles that was circling my house for a few days, and he didn't look well, and I didn't know if he had the rabies or if he was just old or what. Turns out he was just old, and I don't know why he just circled my house. There were other people with big hearts on this street. My neighbors, either side of me, they would have set a place for him at their table. But anyway, he was dying. He finally stopped in my driveway. It began to rain. My heart was bleeding. I put a box over him, but had a stick propping it up in case he was playing dead. But sadly, it turns out he was not playing. And so yes, the possum died in my driveway, and a family friend volunteered to come by and shovel it off my driveway and put it in her trunk and take it to her house. It's nice to have friends.
Take it to her house. And then what?
Yeah.
Canner? I don't know. Grill it.
Oh my God.
This is
Can it?
Mississippi after all. So yeah, that's my only possum story. I do see them around regularly. I am in Mississippi after all, and they talk about how beneficial they are. But I've never actually approached one and see it play dead. The one I encountered again was not playing.
Not playing.
Anybody else got one?
What?
Y'all got one?
How are they beneficial? I'm curious. They talk about
I've heard
that.
that they eat ticks and stuff, and they're also they're immune to most venomous predators and stuff, and so they also will eat snakes and stuff like that. they will put on a little top hat and a little cane and do a dance for you, like put on a little show, do a little soft shoe, a little vaudeville, a little possum stuff. But yeah, I've heard that they're beneficial in that sense that they help keep down some of those other unfriendly species numbers. Nobody loves
Sounds
sticks.
beneficial. Healthy.
We put it on a t-shirt.
Yep.
What about y'all? Y'all got a possum story? Anybody? Are y'all riveted by our podcast?
Riveting.
We're still getting the hang of
Yes.
this, y'all. Episode one.
Stay with us.
Stay with us. Don't give up on us yet.
I have a possum story. It's very romantic. So I lived in Georgia until 2016. And my wife and I now, legal wife now, but at the time, in Georgia before 2015, it was not legal for my people to get married. And so we did some paperwork there was this really cool project, I don't know if they still exist, called Georgia Equality. And they had this big event where they had like lawyers and stampers. What are they called?
Oh, notarists. Notary public.
Notarists.
I may have read that, but
So you went and then you just paid what it costs for a marriage license in your county, and you got all the paperwork like power of attorney, health directives, all that stuff. And so we did that, and then we were like, we kind of just got married. And so after that, I decided I was going to propose to Marcia. So it's kind of like a post-marriage proposal, very romantic. So we went to this really beautiful spot outside of Athens called Watson Mill State Park, and there's this like waterfall cascading down these rocks, and we picnicked there a lot. And so we brought our dog, and we were picnicking. And like as I was proposing post-marriage, a possum swam over, which I didn't know possums could swim. But it seemed maybe it wanted some of our picnic, so it swam over. And we were like, oh my God, a possum just swam over here. And so it came out of the water, and then it saw our dog, and then it just like played dead. And it so I didn't know this, but possums emit like a musk also when they play dead, so they kind of smell dead. And so like its musk like kind of hit us, and we were like, oh my God, like so musky. And I think Walter, even though he saw the possum, like our dog Walter, walking and then just like play dead, I think the musk like turned him off, and he was like, oh, this thing is dead or whatever. So he left it alone, and then we continued on, and we sort of got back to our picnic and our proposal, and then we looked over eventually, and the possum had swam away. But so, possums really are deep into my love story of, they were part of my first marriage, because Marcia and I have been married 3 times. I like to say I've been married 3 times, but just to the same person, which is not an unusual queer story if you are of a certain age. So 1 is the paperwork pre-possum proposal. 2 was when it became legal in Georgia, when it became federally legal. In 2015, we went to the courthouse. And then 3 was we had a wedding party before we moved from Georgia, because we really wanted to have like a going away party, and we were like, no one's going to come to that. Let's have a wedding. So we had a wedding, which was very fun. And Jamie gave a lovely best man speech.
It was a lovely party, and the food was incredible.
It was good food. Yeah.
Amazing Indian spread. It's divine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my friend's mom, who's like very traditionally Southern, was like, you're having Indian food at your wedding. And I was like, yeah, I love Indian food. It's like the main staple of my diet. And she just like couldn't believe that I wasn't having pimento cheese sandwiches.
Digging around in her purse for a piece of gum.
Yeah, no, it was so tasty. Yeah,
Oh, that was
so
amazing. Yeah.
saag paneer, favorite dish. Casey, what is your possum story?
You got a possum story?
Well, not a possum story, but since we brought romance into the mix, I do have one of those. So when I was courting my partner, I had invited them over for dinner one night, and we were eating on the patio. And right in eye shot across the street was this dead cat. And it was like a big cat. Like, I think it might have been like half puma or something. And it was all stiff-legged in the grass across the street. And I was trying to ignore it. And it just kept catching my eye. And I had to stop halfway through and be like, I'm getting really upset by this dead cat across the street. And apparently that night I learned that she keeps a roadkill shovel in the trunk of her Camry. And she marched over there with a garbage bag and this little trunk shovel and scooped that dead cat up and hucked it in the dumpster. And I think that might have been the most romantic thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. But no possums. No possums, though. I haven't been lucky enough to be graced by one yet.
I think one's in your future. You're calling it in. You're calling the possum energy in.
They're going to be drawn to you.
I've been working on manifesting one. I haven't showered in about 4 weeks now, so I'm hoping that they'll find me soon.
Ticks, girl.
Just working on that musk. Working on that musk. Working on your musk.
Look dead, but she smelled it.
Oh my God! Yes. Well, I think that sounds just so romantic. Just yeah.
It was great. It was great.
I feel like I see, like, I just have this image of like the cat like getting swung by its tail, but it's like really stiff, and then it just gets hucked through the air. Yeah,
it was like a frisbee golf kind of moment.
Well, no lie, my cousin just bought a new house, and the only thing in there was a deep freezer in the basement, and the only thing inside the deep freezer was a frozen bobcat.
Oh my God. Sounds like someone's
I have a lot
making
of
a rug.
questions about that.
Yeah, my crooked letter.
Oh my God, yes. When I apprenticed with this guy in Georgia, and like I have a lot of stories from that experience. He's like the most amazing dude. Like he told me, he's like, he lives in like rural Georgia now, but he was like, yeah, I used to go to the dance clubs in Atlanta, and I danced next to this. I would dance on one speaker, and this other guy would dance on the other speaker. I think his name is now RuPaul. And I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
I was like, you danced in the same nightclub as RuPaul. And like, he's like this like woodworker in the middle of like rural Georgia now. But like, he was like in art school. He went to ACA where Jamie went, and like he's just like dancing next to RuPaul. But so he has shifted gears and is much more country now. But so we were driving down the road, and we see this dead peacock, and he's like, ooh, let's pull over and grab that, and I'll put it in my freezer. And I was like, for what reason though? Which I never found out the reason, but we did grab him. So
what's a peacock doing on the side of the road in Georgia?
Well, people just have peacocks. So we have actual peacocks in our neighborhood that just like live. They're just like wild roaming peacocks in South Corvallis.
Cool.
And yeah, what's funny is like our dog cannot walk by a cat without losing her mind. But like peacocks, no problem. She's like, that's normal. I'm like, okay.
So what's next for us?
Yeah, we're going to have a couple more episodes coming out shortly after this episode. So we're we're getting our rhythm, so we're not going to tell you how often we're releasing episodes. So don't expect anything immediately,
'Cause
but
we don't
once
know.
we find our rhythm, we'll let you know.
Yes.
But we'll sometimes have many episodes with just the one or two of us, and then we'll also have people coming on for interviews. So if you have people that you think would enjoy talking about creativity and struggles and art and what it's like to make things, send them our way. And don't forget to subscribe to our show. We also have a website, playingpossumcollective.com. And so you can check that out. And that's also linked to our show. And we were also on Instagram, and so you can follow us there. So Casey, where can you find us on Instagram?
Right. You can find us at playing.possum.collective, and we have a hashtag Playing Possum Co.
Nice.
And you can find all of us on Instagram as well if you want to see our work and find out what we're doing, what we're about. You can find me on Instagram at Jamie Hudnall. I think it's Jamie_Hudnall, I believe.
Yeah. And that'll be linked to from our Instagram too. So, and yeah, I'm on Instagram as well. Find me. I dare you.
You can find me. I'll tell you where to find me. It's Casey and the Camera on Instagram. I also just launched a portfolio website that has a blog. It's CaseyMontgomery.com. So check it out. Leave me a comment.
Yeah.
I'll probably get back to you because my phone's glued to
on
me.
December 1st, I'll be at the Southtown Art Walk in South Corvallis if you are a Corvallis person.
Hey, I enjoyed it. It wasn't terrible. I'd watch it, listen to it.
Yes. And we
'Cause
have
you can,
audio and video versions of our podcast. If you want to see our faces,
Right.
you
Yeah.
can watch the video
Yeah.
version.
Get
If
on
you-
YouTube and see this bolo tie.
That's what I was gonna say. It's on YouTube, right? We've got a channel.
Yeah.
We're everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah. We global.
We global.
We global. All right. We'll see
but
y'all
yes.
next time.
Keep up with us, and yeah, we've got more to talk about next time.
Toodles Possums.
Toodles possums.
Toodles. Bye.